Well, hey there, it's Catherine from CatherinePooler.com. In this video, we're going to make 4 different cards using the sunflowers from the Shine On Sunflower stamp set. This is part of our larger Out West collection, and this bundle is called Shine On. It includes all of these products, which can be purchased through the bundle at a discount, or you can pick and choose your favorites and purchase them all individually. So we have the sunflower stamp set, the coordinating dies, the sketch plaid background stamp, the triangle cover plate, the Skyscape mini cover plate, and this really cute, funky hand lettered Miss You sentiment. Now, before we get started with the stamping, I wanted to share some cards that were made by our brand ambassadors. These show off those sunflowers really well, and you'll see how to stamp those in just a minute. Great color palette, really fun cards, the sketch plaid for an accent, or maybe you want to use that Skyscape mini cover plate. Tons of ways to use that. You can see these 2 cards that I just showed use that cover plate in different ways. And then again, here's another one. So you can use the scallop border, you can cut a frame, you can do a layer, lots of different options there. Then this card uses a triangle cover plate and stenciling on that background, and then different colors on the sunflowers. So these flowers don't always have to be sunflowers. And then take the leaf, die cut a bunch of times, stamp it in red, and make a poinsettia. And then rainbow ink blending on the stamp, or stamp it in white and then ink blend on the background. So you can see just from all of those, there's lots of ways to use these products. If you're new here, I hope you will subscribe to my channel because I would love to see you again on future videos. So diving into the stamping. So I'm using shea butter and icing on the cake, and I pulled off the 3 stamps that I need. So I need that outer stamp, I need the center solid circle, and then I need the dots or the seeds on top. So stamping these jaggedy outer flowers can be a little tricky. So we tried to make them so that there are several spots that kind of stand out. So maybe like a little edge of the petal that sticks out more, and then one that sticks out less, and then one that sticks out more. Just find a spot that kind of stands out to your eye and then line it up with the die. So I found a little bit more success when I did my die cutting first and then lined my stamp up, but you may find better success the other way. Just play with it and figure out what works best for you. So I stamped the shea butter, and then I stamped the icing on the cake on top, and I felt like I wanted it a little darker, so I stamped it twice each center. And then I'm going to take my heat tool, because these inks stay kind of damp a little bit for a while, and if you pour embossing powder on it, that embossing powder is going to stick to places that you don't want it. So heat it a little bit, maybe run a deactivator powder tool over the top just to make sure that it is dry. And then when you pour on clear embossing powder like I did here, so I did midnight ink and clear embossing powder, and then when I heat set it, it's going to be a glossy, nice finish on those seeds, and it's going to really stand out and look really pretty. So there are different ways that you could do the center. This way I'm stamping with embossing ink, and then I'm using metallic rich gold embossing powder for the center, and then you're going to get a shimmery metallic look for the seeds, which is really cool. I've also tried copper, and I've also tried black or midnight ink. There's the copper one on the left. So gold and copper. And then here on this one, I did the midnight ink, and then I did Wanderlust embossing glitter over the top. And you can see that embossing glitter is clear, but it has like sparkle in it and some gold sparkles, so it gives a really cool look. I think my favorite part of this video is making a shaker element out of this sunflower. So the first thing you're going to do is die cut and stamp your outermost flower. Take the circle shape, die cut out of the center of that. Then die cut an acetate piece and a layer to put behind it. So basically you're going to have 3 of that outermost flower shapes. So basically you're going to make a sandwich here. The top one has the circle cut out of it. The middle one is going to be the acetate, and you're going to adhere that right to the the sunflower with the circle cut out, and then you're going to add the dimensional adhesive. This is 3M mounting tape. I'll show you a little bit more about using this to make shaker cards later in the video. And then my favorite part is when you add the sequins, and then you're going to add the backing on. I chose to do it with chocolate, and again, I just trimmed off all those jagged little edges so that I didn't have to worry about lining it up exactly. And that's it. It's pretty easy when you break it down into the different steps, making a shaker element or a shaker card. And shaker cards are always really fun to give, and they are such a wow for the recipient. To finish off this shaker bit, I have a piece of chocolate cardstock cut out of that same large outer flower. I'm cutting off the edges again so that I don't have to worry about lining it up. And that's it. I have a sunflower shaker piece. Can't wait to add this to a card. So another way to finish off the sunflower centers is to stamp them and die cut the centers and then either glue it right straight on top of the flower, or maybe you want to add some dimensional adhesive to the center of the flower, and then it will pop up and add some more interest. And again, don't be tied to yellow and browns. Try some different color options to get different flowers and different feels. There is this little flower image in this set that I think is so adorable. The die cut is going to cut out the whole flower, and then you're going to want to stamp the stem and then the little flower sprig on the top, and that is a really cute piece to just kind of tuck into different bouquets. So I have a few of those set aside. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know when I stamp and die cut, I like to do a whole bunch at once, and then I keep them in a little baggie and I have them on hand. And then when I work on technique pieces, I can spend all of my time, effort, and energy and pay all the attention to my technique piece. And then I have these fun little images already die cut ready to go. And then I can pull them out and add them to my technique piece, and it's easy peasy. So the flowers, I'm using eucalyptus and green tea. You can see the one is like a two-step situation there. And then I have the long pieces, and then I'm going to do some more in Seafoam. I stamped some in Skylight, which I think is a really fun twist, a bluish green for flowers. That's always fun. And then Seafoam with Skylight stamped on top of it here on these small leaves. And I'm just stamping up a whole bunch, and then I'll be able to assemble my cards. So we're going to use the Skyscape mini cover plate, which is a really versatile piece. This coordinates, the sizing coordinates with all of the mini cover plates that are in our line. And you can see if you use the two rectangle ones stacked inside of each other, just use a little piece of purple tape or washi tape to secure them together. And then you can run them through your die cutting machine and get a frame. So that's a great way to use it. You can also create a frame with the scallop outer piece as well. You can also die cut each of them individually and have tons of layering options. So for the sentiment, I stamped this gorgeous hand-lettered sentiment right onto one of the layers. And has this ever happened to you? You stamp and you don't get quite a solid image. You may miss a little spot or whatever. And easy fix, just take a little blender pen and fill in the little spots that you missed. And then I want a brown scalloped outer edge, so I'm just doing a little direct to paper there. Just ink swipe your ink pad across the cardstock and you'll have a icing on the cake layer. Easy. I wanted to add some texture to this layer, so I inked up the Sketch Plaid background stamp with the icing on the cake and just laid my layer on top of it. Used a piece of scrap paper to kind of protect my hands from getting all inky. They get inky enough. I don't need it to be more inky. Well, I don't know. Sometimes how much ink is too much? I don't know. Anyway, so a little dimensional adhesive. I'm using my 3M mounting tape and I'm just adding it to this layer on the back to give the project a little bit more interest. And then the rest is easy. I'm just going to add my sunflower shaker. Oh my gosh, how cute is that? I'm really in love with this sunflower shaker. I might have to make a bunch of them. And then I'll add a couple leaves and then it'll be ready to add to my card front. So I have my half sheet cardstock, my 8.5 by 5.5 cardstock bases. These are already scored in half for you. These are in our shop. It's our premium white cardstock 100-pound, bright white, super smooth, great for stamping. So I'm going to use that for my card base. And then I have my triangle cover plate. I already have a few of these die cut, so I just grabbed one and I thought that would be some really great added texture to that background there. A little Nuvo liquid glue around the edges, and then I'll just adhere that on and adhere the main focal point sentiment piece right to the card front. A few sequins to finish it off around the sunflower, and that's all for this card. So on the left of the screen here, you can see I have a little bit of an idea going for this card. I need a background. So I want a subtle texture here. So I'm taking the sketch Plaid, I inked it in embossing ink, and then I'm going to pour on white embossing powder, and then I will heat it. First I grabbed my clear, and then I decided I wanted white. I want this to be like a crisp, like white on white instead of like just a gloss on white. So that's why I chose the white embossing powder. So pour that on, sprinkle it off. There's a couple little spots here that I just flicked away with a paintbrush, and then we'll get the heat tool and heat it. It's a little bit harder to see white and clear embossing powder, so I always just turn it in the light and look for the shiny pieces. If I see any spots on my project that are not shiny, they look powdery, you know you need to hit it with the heat tool again. There's just a really quick peek there. I had the green tea polka dotted paper from the prickly patterned paper pack. I had that die cut in that scallop, and I put it behind, and then I decided that I didn't quite that it wasn't quite the feel I was looking for. I did like it, but I wanted more of a like I just wanted those sunflowers to really pop off of a white background. So then I grabbed the Skyscape scallop piece, the frame, and I put 3M mounting tape, dimensional adhesive on the back, and then I'm going to work with the flowers a little bit to arrange them. This is a little bit of a tricky part as far as arranging them, and so that they're not like flying all over the place and but not sticking down in places you don't want to. So I added a piece of 3M mounting tape to all of my flowers, and then I started just kind of tucking in some of the greenery. Now those flowers have the sticky tape to the back, but I didn't press them down so that they don't stick to my project. So I just kind of set them there, and then I was just playing with the greenery, trying to figure out where I wanted it all. And then for a sentiment, I wanted So Thankful. This is a hand lettered font by Leslie Dunnigan, and I stamped it on chocolate cardstock in embossing ink, did the white embossing powder and embossed, and then I just cut around it so I have a nice little strip there. A little bit of glue where it's going to hit the frame, and then a piece of the 3M mounting tape so that make sure that that sentiment lays flat there. So when I decided where I wanted the leaves to go, I just added a little bit of Nuvo liquid glue, and using the liquid glue is an advantage because it gives you a second before it dries to kind of move and reposition things if you want to. So I'm just going to tuck all of these little leaves in there, and in the end I was really happy with how this looked. It was the overall feel that I was going for the card, just a really simple white background that has some interest if you look really close, but then those flowers are just really popping and making a statement on this card. We're going to do a technique piece background. I'm using Seafoam and Skylight inks, which are part of our Spa color collection. All of the cards in this video are using the Spa inks. They have a muted, sophisticated undertone, and they were created to work perfectly together so that color coordination is really easy for you. So I just ink swiped the Skylight and Seafoam on the background, and then I spritzed it with water using my Ken Oliver spray mist bottle, and just kind of let it dry. I did hit it with the heat tool a little bit to speed that up. This is watercolor cardstock because I'm using a lot of water. So if you use regular cardstock, it's going to buckle and not do so well with all of that water. And then I'm using the triangle cover plate. When I ran it through my die cutting machine and it came out the other end and I picked it up, some of those triangles stayed in a random manner, and I thought it looked really cool and I wanted to keep it like that on my card. So I put it back onto the cover plate so that the pieces would kind of stay there and not fall out. I added liquid adhesive all around the outside and then onto the little triangles that I wanted to stay put. A few of those triangles didn't want to stick on, so I added a little bit more glue and added that on there, added the cover plate over my piece again, and used my Spellbinders tool-in-one to kind of poke those pieces through to stick them to the glue, and then I was all set. So I took my non-traditional sunflowers, and I was kind of working around and making a little spray with them, and I want to use this Miss You word die. So I pressed it into my embossing ink, and I thought it would be cool to do the Skylight embossing glitter. This came out in a trio a few months ago and is in our shop. It's a really gorgeous skylight colored powder base with some bigger chunks and glitter in it. So when you heat this embossing glitter, I recommend using the low heat setting first and get some of that starting to melt, and then turn it on high and finish that off. I ended up feeling like the Technique background with the cover plate and the Miss You in that marble embossing powder look was a little much. So I kind of went in a little bit different direction here, but I think the Miss You with those flowers on a white card base would be really pretty. I wanted to use this Technique piece, and so then I pulled over the sunflower. I think that looks really good. I like the blue and the yellow together. I still felt like the Miss You with the marbled embossing powder was too busy. So I decided to go in a different direction for the sentiment. So I just cut a simple white strip. I stamped Pray Bigger in Juniper Mist. I think that looks really nice. It's a clean look that doesn't detract from that really cool Technique piece background. The sentiment is from the Dream Big stamp set, which is also part of our Out West collection. So I couldn't decide for a minute if I wanted to use the gold Vegas Baby or the silver Tinseltown sequins. I think either would look fantastic, but I settled and decided on the Tinseltown. Leave me a comment and let me know which sequins you would have gone with. I feel like the Tinseltown goes with the background more, but then the Vegas Baby would have made that pop going off the yellow in the sunflower. So all the pieces that are prepared for these cards that I'm not using, I just put those into a Ziploc bag and they'll be all ready for the next time I want to use them. Next up, I'm going to go for a totally different look here. I'm using the smallest circle stamp and I'm doing a rainbow. So I pulled out a rainbow color palette from our spa collection. I used pink champagne, polish, sauna, green tea, skylight, and then sugared lavender. And I stamped each one 3 times. And every time you stamp, you're going to get a lighter shade of the same color. And then I'm taking the Seascape cover plate, mini cover plate, and I'm using a frame and a piece of acetate because I'm gonna make a shaker card. Who's obsessed with shaker cards like me? I love them. I think they're so fun to make, so fun to give. Everybody loves them and thinks you're pretty awesome when you give one. So it's a win-win all the way around. So at the beginning, I was telling you that I take 3M mounting tape. I take a long piece, I rip it in half, and then I stack it. So this gives me some really good height so that my shaker bits, my sequins, have a lot of room to shake around. Then I cut it in thirds. You might even want to cut it in fourths. You can see here I had a little bit of an issue with that. It wasn't quite thin enough because you don't want it to show outside of the frame. And then you're going to take off the backing and go all around the perimeter of your frame, creating a barrier so the sequins can't escape. So I took the rainbow piece, I mounted it to a piece of black cardstock and then a card front, and I'm ready to make the shaker part. So I just put my Skyscape little shaker bit there to kind of get an idea of where I need to put the sequins. And then I'm going to use Tinseltown sequins. I'm just dumping a giant pile right in the middle of that card. And then I'm going to add the shaker piece right on top, press it down, and then your card is just about done. We just need a sentiment. So I die cut the Miss You die from Midnight Cardstock, add a little bit of liquid adhesive on it, and then I'm going to add it straight to the project. So the Miss You die does have a little dot for the eye, so you can see I left it in the cardstock there, and then I can put a little bit of adhesive on it, line it up with the Miss You that's already on the card, and just use a little fine point like from the Spellbinders tool-in-one or the end of a scissors, just kind of poke it out there. Add a few sequins on the outside and you're done. So let's look at the cards we made. The Sunflower Shaker card. Love that one. The sunflowers on the white on white on white background, the watercolored background technique piece with the triangle cover plate, and then the rainbow shaker card. Which one is your favorite? Leave me a note. I'd love to know. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your support over here on YouTube. When you comment and share and like the video, it tells YouTube that you love our videos and it helps us get the word out about our brand. So thank you. I hope your day is amazing and I'll see you back here again soon.